Hi friends, Mrs. McBride here, coming to you straight from my kitchen table. Hopefully everybody had a good week last week and you are ready to start. I think this is coming on week 6 of distance learning. We're also going to start on block 6, which is talking about passwords. So why do we use passwords? Okay. Well, the reason why I put a password on my email or computer is that I don't want everybody reading my things, right? In the same way that you might put a lock on something that you want to keep private, okay? Or you lock your car when you leave it, right? Because you don't want anybody to steal it, okay? Or to look inside, right? So are there ethical reasons to try to crack secret codes? Would there be any reason why you would want to try to break into my car? Probably. Like, I don't know, a couple months ago when I locked the keys in there, it's important that somebody's able to unlock it, right, to get my keys out because I want it to be unlocked. Okay, so let's try to figure out what are some ethical reasons that you might want to try to crack a secret code. Okay, well, the first one would be probably to find and fix security flaws. Okay, so if there's something that, if somebody can crack your code or your password or unlock something, you'd probably want to know because then you'd want to fix it so somebody couldn't get in again. Okay, the second one would be to prevent terrorism. Now, Apple has received a lot of flack because they will not allow law enforcement to sort of crack the code and get into people's iPhones. They say they want your information to remain private, but also if they would allow that, it could possibly prevent terrorism. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. And you could think about codes in general, like DNA. We can use this for DNA patterning. Okay, to figure out what's going on with different diseases or to sequence the human genome. All right, so here's some definitions. An encryption algorithm is some method of doing encryption. Okay, so for example, if you go back to our car example, we put locks on our car. Okay, the lock is the encryption method or the thing that is keeping the inside of our car safe. The encryption key is a specific input that dictates how to apply the method and can also be used to decrypt the message. So again, our car has a lock. That is our encryption algorithm, the lock. Okay, the key is what decrypts the message or allows us to get in. So let's think back to our Caesar cipher from last week. How much easier is it to crack a Caesar cipher than a random substitution cipher? Can you put a number on it? Well, actually we can. So for a Caesar cipher, there's only 25 possible ways to shift the alphabet. So worst case, you only need to try 25 different possibilities. Okay, one of them is bound to work, right? So the encryption algorithm here, or what's keeping us safe, is the Caesar cipher. And the encryption key is the amount of shift. Because if we know that amount of shift, then we can obviously decode or decrypt the message. Now let's talk about a random substitution cipher. This is when every letter of the alphabet is randomly mapped to a letter of the alphabet. Okay? A random substitution cipher has many more possibilities. And for those of you who love math, it actually has 26 factorial possibilities. Take a second and go ahead and figure out how much that is because it's a lot. Okay? However, as we have learned with frequency analysis, we can avoid having to try all of them blindly. So again, in this case, the encryption algorithm would be our random substitution cipher. And the encryption key would be the entire 26-letter map. Was it difficult to crack a random substitution cipher? Yes. Yes, it is. Did it take you longer than you thought? Probably. It's really hard to crack a random substitution cipher. Why? Because it's completely random, so there's no particular pattern, okay? So what we can do is we can use computers. So computers aid humans in the implementation of encryption, decryption, and cracking algorithms. In other words, using a computer changes the speed and complexity of the types of encryption that we can do. But it also increases our ability to break or circumvent the encryption. So meaning we can put better encryption onto our computer, which will make our things safer. But somebody who's trying to get into our things also has a computer, and they're also able to decrypt easier, okay? Any encryption cipher is an algorithm for transforming plain text into ciphertext. So what about the other way around? Can you write out an algorithm for cracking a Caesar cipher? Absolutely. What about a random substitution cipher? In other words, can you write an algorithm to determine the encryption key? Think about a janitor, or a custodian who has a ton of keys on their key ring, physical keys, okay? And you say, I just need the key to room 219. And they say, here you go. Okay, so what you have to do in order to find the key is to look through all the different keys. Now you can use some smarts, right, and say this key is too big or this key is too small, but you should be able to write an algorithm or a list of problem-solving steps that tells you how to do it. First, try the first key. If that doesn't work, try the second key, okay? An algorithm for cracking a Caesar cipher is pretty easy. So for each possible alphabetic shift, try it, see if the words come out in English. Now, an algorithm for cracking a random substitution cipher is a little trickier and more nuanced. There might not be a single great answer, but through thinking about it, you realize how tricky it is to codify human intelligence and intuition for doing something like frequency analysis into a process that a machine can follow. So it probably requires some human intervention. Which is an interesting point to make. So you look at this and you do your Caesar cipher, you make the shift and you look and see, are those words? Yes or no? Okay. Shift again, are those words? Yes or no? How do you tell a computer to look and see if there are words? Okay, moving on. In encryption, you should always assume that your enemy knows the encryption algorithm and has access to the same tools you do. So what makes encryption really strong is making it hard to guess or crack the key, even if the enemy knows the encryption technique you're using. Okay, think back to our custodian example. Okay, the custodian is telling you one of these keys is correct, but the more keys that they have on their key ring, the longer it's going to take you to guess. However, if he just gives you one or two keys, it should be really easy to guess which one is the key to room 219. So in other words, we want the key to be computationally hard, for a computer to guess. Computationally hard typically means that arriving at the solution would take a computer a prohibitively long time, centuries or even eons. In terms of cracking encryption, that means that the number of possible keys must be so large that even a computer trying billions of possible keys per second is unlikely to arrive at the correct key in a reasonable amount of time. Nowadays, when you use a password for a website or a device, your password is used as a cryptographic key. So choosing a good password is meaningful because we want the key to be computationally hard for the computer to guess. So how good is your password? That's what you're going to be looking at next. How strong is your password? Okay, so I have a couple of different activities for you to try on the worksheet, but also think about entering your normal password. When I did this last year, I entered in the password that I normally use for my bank website, and it said it could be cracked within a second. So what I then did was I had to change to a password that was more computationally difficult. Okay, and what do you think makes a password more computationally difficult? Well, logic would say that you would add like capital letters. Let me see if I can zoom in a little here for you. Okay, so most people think that you would add capital letters, you would do some common substitutions, like a 0 for an O, or a 4 for an A, okay, that you would use characters or numbers in here. Okay, but if you actually look at this comic, if we use the password capital T, R, 0, UB, 4, DOR, and 3, so I'm assuming that they're trying to spell out troubadour and 3. It requires 28 bits of entropy, and if it would take 3 days to guess this password. Okay, the problem is that it's easy for a computer to guess. I mean, it could be guessed within 3 days by a computer. The problem is that it's super difficult to remember, right? Because is that a capital T, lowercase t? Did I replace this 0 with the O or this O with the 0? Okay, the best types of passwords are 4 random common words. So they suggest correct, horse, battery, staple. Okay, this actually has 44 bits that is required. And if you do 2 to the 44, that's 550 years at 1,000 guesses per second. So the difficulty for that to guess would be really hard, okay? But it's super easy to remember. Okay, so do you care if somebody knows your password in 550 years? I don't. I think at that point it's pretty well secure. Okay. I also left on there for you a list of the most common passwords. Take a look at it because it's pretty crazy, and then type some of those in to the password tester. Bye friends, hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll be seeing each other soon. Bye-bye.